The head of the European Union delegation to Ghana was Thursday heckled off a public forum discussing the controversial economic partnership agreement in Accra. This was after the coordinator of the Third World Network, Yao Graham, objected to his presence at the event. Yao Graham said he could not understand why Claude Martin was invited to make a presentation at the forum, which aimed to collate civil society views on the issue.
According to Yao Graham, the head of the EU delegation to Ghana, Claude Martin, was neither a Ghanaian nor a member of any civil society group, and as such was not welcome to make a presentation at the forum, especially when the matter bordered on the economic development of the country. He further argued that nowhere on the program lineup was it stated that Claude Martin would make a presentation. Other civil society groups at the forum supported his stance, refusing to badge until the European Union ambassador was closed out. Yao Graham described the presence of the EU head as an attempt to brainwash them.
The person who owes us an explanation day to day is the government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Trade and Industry and his officials. Claude Martin has an opinion, but he defends European interests, and the people who defend our interests are elected representatives. If they were having an EU consultation and me, a migrant on a visa, I turn up there, I don't have a stake in it. So we should be clear about the parameters, because we become so aid dependent that any time we want to sneeze, we think the donors should be present.
The impasse forced a temporary suspension of the program. Trade and Industry Minister Haruna Idrisu, who according to participants invited the EU head to the program without formally communicating to them, escorted Claude Martin out.
In a related development, the disappointed head of the EU delegation, Claude Martin, in an interview with Stephen Anti on today's Big Story, said though he was denied the opportunity to make his presentation at the forum today, he respects the decision of the Third World Network.
I was there because Ghana is a country where there is the freedom of expression. In fact, it is one of the very high standards that this country has achieved for a long time, and you yourself with your radio and many other press, you advocate for press freedom, and also that I was a little bit surprised that in fact I was denied the right to speak. But of course I respect the decision which was taken by the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry to follow the line of some of the persons in the room which considered that it was not appropriate for the EU to speak. In fact, in my view, it would have been appropriate, because I would have had the opportunity to give some factual information about what is the EPA.
Right.
That was my only interest to be there.
His Excellency, I'd like to find out.
They need to have all the truth about what it is.
Right. I'd like to find out from you how you feel, after what happened today. As the head of the EU delegation, if you went into a forum and you were heckled, you must have been diplomatically embarrassed. Did you feel that way? No,
I was there to come to inform the participants at this stakeholder meeting. So because it is my duty as the EU ambassador here in Ghana to inform about what is the partnership we have between Europe and Ghana, which is a very positive partnership. In fact, we had the political dialogue meeting just 2 days before this event, which was a quite fruitful discussion that we had on the many subjects that we have in in common. And this morning, it was for me a kind of a continuation of my work. I have to understand what are the concerns which might be expressed by the society in Ghana. In fact, we support a lot civil society organizations. We finance a lot civil society organizations, and it has always been because it is a very important actor in the public debate in this country. And I'm surprised to see that today some consider that this public debate should have some limits.
Meanwhile, civil society groups who participated in the forum on the economic partnership agreement between Ghana and the European Union have cautioned government to tread cautiously in signing the agreement. They were of the opinion that whereas some portions sought to suggest the EU is interested in the country's development and economic aspirations, they feared there could be dire consequences for the economy in the long run.
Local industries will be affected. And the reason why we are saying that is that you look at our industries in Ghana, 75 to 80% are all SMEs. And even if Cargill is employing about 1,000 people, and we're talking about the exporters are employing, we are talking about 20 sectors that make up the Association of Ghana Industries. It's not just the tuna or what these few 15% that make up the whole thing. It's the totality of the industry that we would like to see in terms of it. So we would like to see what impact it also have on the 85% other than the 15% exporters.
Have some kind of research work on this to inform us. As I said, Nigeria has done it, Gambia has done it, and that informs policy. And I think we do not have to go in offensive contrast to what ECOWAS will bring.
But Minister for Trade and Industry, Haruna Idrisu, argued that the EPA agreement was renewable every 5 years, and it wasn't as though Ghana was selling off its rights to bargain. He further reiterated that it was also not true that the European Union will have 100% access to Ghana's market, as has been reported in the media.
We still will have 25% kept to us for purposes of essential commodities that we naturally will protect. And it's also significant for me to add that mathematically, even today as we speak, EU already have at least 35% market access in Ghana if you look at the volume of exports, particularly capital goods that enters our country. So arithmetically, the debate mathematically is reduced to the additional 40% which will be added to the existing 35% that EU already have access into our market. And I hope that this will help all of us in guiding what we will take as a decision of the country.
Foreign Minister Hannah Tete indicated that not signing the EPAs could have dire consequences for the country, as exports to the EU market will go through a quota system and a tariff regime.
There is no manufacturing business in Ghana, I can assure you, that depends entirely from its inputs to its packaging to its labeling entirely on products that are entirely made in Ghana. There's an import component for every industrial product made in this country. And so, when we talk about growing our industries, when we talk about having industrial production in Ghana, we have to broaden our discussion a little bit, because you see, it's very narrow to say we need to protect our industries so that we can give our Ghanaian industries the chance to grow. We need to give our Ghanaian industries the chance to grow. That's why we came up with our industrial strategy. But are we going to grow our Ghanaian industries on the back of protectionism?
The civil society groups were, however, unconvinced and cautioned government that it will be responsible for any actions which could worsen the already tough living conditions Ghanaians are having to endure.
The Savannah Accelerated Development Authority has been ordered to retrieve almost 3 million Ghana cedis from 2 companies contracted to produce butternut squash for the European market. According to the auditors, the contract entered into with +1 Investment Limited and Kukubila Farms Limited is not financially viable. Manasseh Zoya-Wene reports.
In 2012, SADA paid Kukubila Farms Limited over 38,000 Ghana cedis and more than 2,700,000 Ghana cedis to Plus One Investment Limited to undertake the production and export of butternut squash. Former SADA CEO Gilbert Sedu Idi says the project was meant to meet demands for the product in Europe.
The butternut is a new crop in high demand in Europe, very high demand in Europe. But unfortunately in Europe, during the winter, the weather is not suitable for its production. And the winter happens to be our dry season. So it gives us a winter window when you're able to produce it, that you can take it to the European market. And because of that, the European market was very keen. In fact, they traveled all the way from Birmingham to come and see us and the work we are doing. And then from there, we're able to agree on orders. They wanted us to supply them 2 containers every week. But we didn't even have the capacity to be able to produce 2 containers every week. So they scaled it down to 1 container every week. So the market was there.
SADA explained that the 38,000 Ghana cedis paid to Kukubila Farms was used to pilot the project. The 2.7 million Ghana cedis paid to Plus One Investment Limited was to be paid back within 5 years. Joynews visited one of the project locations at Yape in the northern region. This site is for Plus One Investment Limited, but we found only irrigation equipment and farm implements. There was no sign of human activity on the site, though we visited at the peak of the dry season when cultivation of the land was supposed to be taking place. When we were about to leave, we saw this man who said he was the security man at the site. He gave us information about beneficiaries of the project.
Na omunya start ya phone ejumadi. So omunya maniwa. But I don't know omunya start here.
Mohammed Kofi Kabute, chairman of the farmers group in the area, said the company had stopped operation in the area for lack of funds.
This year, who's going to pay it? Nobody will sponsor them, no money. Who will sponsor the farmers to farm? No money. They said no money. SADA is not having money. Plus One too is not having money. The SADA will give Plus One money so that Plus One will do the work. No money. So the thing is there. So they said if the farmers want, they should farm. They will farm for them, give them seeds, but they will buy fuel for the machines, pumping machines, the pumping water for the machines. So when they call the farmers, nobody can afford the money. Because fuel, if you are many people, maybe you can get money to buy tomatoes, but if you don't give the thing to water always to, you won't get anything.
But the CEO of Plus One Investment Limited, Sadat Al Hassan, told Joy News that the project at Yape stopped because of pests. He said the company last year exported butternut squash to Europe and is about to harvest its second. He said the company also paid about 64,000 Ghana cedis to SADA last year. This amount represents only 2% of the money it's supposed to repay to SADA in 5 years. The audit report says SADA failed to produce records on the number of tonnage of the butternut squash the company has harvested and exported and the sales made. It says the practice is a recipe for financial malfeasance and recommends therefore that the companies be made to refund the amounts granted to them with interest at the current commercial bank lending rate because the economic viability of the project could not be ascertained. For Joy News, Manasseh Azore-Arene reporting.
The Member of Parliament for the Nalerugu-Gambaga constituency, Dr. Tia Sugri, has appealed to Konkumbas, Mampusis and Bimobas to give peace a chance. This, he says, would facilitate the development of the area. If the government's efforts to improve the lot of the people will be futile if the area continues to be up in flames.
The conflict erupted between Bimabos and Mampusis, which led to the death of a 28-year-old man, Sakwaku Benja, at Bombila, a village near Sakugu in the East Mampusi district. His death led to a reprisal attack in nearby communities, and the tension that followed generated into an all-out conflict between the Bimabos on one hand and a group of Mampusis and Kukumbas on the other, leading to the burning down of more than 100 houses. 3 persons lost their lives lives in the conflict, while property running into thousands of Ghana cedis had been destroyed. A number of ammunitions, including 3 AK-47 assault rifles, 4 single-barreled guns, a pistol and 73 rounds of G3 and AK-47 bullets have been retrieved from the conflict zone. 7 out of 14 suspects who were arrested and charged with murder and destruction of property had also been remanded by a Tamale Circuit Court. Dr. Tias Sugui, who was also the Deputy Minister of Health, said this when he presented relief items to the affected persons in the area on behalf of the government. The items included bags of rice, maize, packets of roofing sheet, bales of used clothes, mosquito net and many more personal effects. He appealed to those who fled the community to return to continue with their farming activities since there was calm, and that the security agencies would continue to provide the needed security.
Conflicts never come in this magnitude, and what happened was that I even had to have a detailed brief from the district chief executive, the security agencies and the chief about it, because we didn't think that such a thing could easily happen here. Now, when that happened, we realized that rushing to come and see was not just the end of it. We had to look for some relief items because they burned down whole villages and some houses. And the north here, food that they were able to harvest last year are kept in barns within the household. So when you set fire to a whole house, all such things could be burned along with it. And that is why we have to appeal to the government through NADMO for some intervention in a way like this. And we're lucky that through my intervention, NADMO provided items for us to relieve the pain of the people for some time.
He commended the security agencies for demonstrating professionalism by restoring peace earlier. Dr. Sugui visited the Nayiri Na Bohagu Mahami Abdullahi Shariga II, overlord of the Mamprugu traditional area, and Kusarana Mahami Idrisu, chief of Kusara, and solicited their support to helping to maintain peace in the area. Kusarana Idrisu said as part of effort to complement the efforts of the District Security Committee, he has started mediating with those involved in the fighting to help settle their differences.
The Coalition for Farmers' Rights and Advocacy Against GMOs is continuing its fight against the introduction of genetically modified foods in Ghana, insisting they will cause more harm than good. At a conference to mark the International Day of Peasant Struggles, the advocacy group told traders at the Kaneshi Market Complex that such foods are harmful not only to the human body but also to the Ghanaian economy.
April 17 is the International Day of Peasant Struggle, commemorating the massacre of 19 peasants struggling for land and justice in Brazil in 1996. Every year on that day, actions take place around the world in defense of peasants and small-scale farmers struggling for their rights.
Ghana must support our farmers and support our food supply. We are happy to note that some progress is already being made. What is needed more than ever is for us here in Ghana to give more support to research and extension support for agroecological agriculture.
In Ghana, the Coalition for Farmers' Rights and Advocacy Against GMOs celebrated the day with a sensitization program at the Kaneshi Market Complex, reiterating their call for a ban on genetically modified foods and the use of GMO technology in agriculture.
We are a rich country, a lot of arable land still uncultivated, so we do not need seeds that are artificially made to enhance and improve our agriculture. We all know that our first point of call the first thing we must correct is to limit the post-harvest losses that eat up 30% of our production. The politics of GMO, as we were saying, is very, very dangerous and makes us very suspicious.
Market women, after the sensitization, also kicked against the introduction of GMO in Ghana and sounded a word of caution to government.
The person yet in the person catch on penny say, you're trying to no science happy panu.
The debate over genetically modified organisms has sparked a lot of controversies in Ghana since 2013, after the government announced the introduction of GMO technology into the country. The disputes have been over whether organisms procured from genetic engineering should be allowed into the Ghanaian market. Activists consider genetically modified food as a health hazard, neo-colonialist, and a threat to economic and food sovereignty and national security.
You're watching the Primetime News Bulletin here on Joynews on Multi TV. We have more stories coming up. Stay tuned. And Accra High Court has adjourned to April 30, a ruling on the submission of no case filed by Alfred Agbesi Woyome in a fraud case brought against him. The much-awaited ruling, which saw hundreds of supporters and sympathizers of Alfred Woyome thronging the court premises, was postponed after the trial judge announced his ruling has been delayed because he was indisposed for some time.
The trial judge, Justice John Ajet Nassam, told the court he could not complete writing his ruling on the matter due to an eye infection. The much anticipated ruling will either see Alfred Agbesi Woyome walk free or be convicted once evidence is established against him in a case where he is said to have willfully defrauded the state to the tune of 51 million Ghana cedis. The latest turn of events has been prompted by a request from the defendant that the case be dismissed because the state has failed to prove the charges against him. The state, however, filed a response on March 28, 2014, arguing it has adduced enough evidence against the businessman. The Woyome trial has been going on in court for about 2 years now, and counsel for the defendant, Musa Ahmed, said it was about time a decision is taken on the matter.
You see, when you file your case, you believe in your case, you file it, you advance your argument so that at the end of it, there will be a verdict in your favor. We have filed our application, we have advanced a strong case argument that we know from the evidence, on the totality of the evidence, the prosecution has not established what we call a prima facie case to warrant a decision in their favor.
Alfred Agbesi Woyome has meanwhile pleaded not guilty to the charges and is currently on a 20 million Ghana cedis bail.
The Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research says it is unable to establish what caused the death of a 12-year-old girl suspected to have been killed by the deadly Ebola virus 2 weeks ago. Though the institute ruled out Ebola as the cause, it says samples presented to it were not enough to establish anything else. Head of the Virology Department of the Institute, Professor William Kwabena Ampofo, is however condemning what he describes as continued negative reportage on the virus in the country.
The case of the 12-year-old which occurred at the Kofoanochi Teaching Hospital raised fears the deadly virus had found its way into Ghana. The Noguchi Memorial Institute, however, said their tests on blood samples taken from the girl proved otherwise, even though it promised to continue with its investigation to establish the cause of the death. Head of the Virology Department at Noguchi, Professor William Kwabena Ampofo, told Joynews on the sidelines of a sensitization forum organized by the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration on Ebola. He remains optimistic about measures put in place by the Ghana Health Service to check threats of the virus for now.
We haven't had this kind of outbreak, large number of people dying and bleeding from everywhere. However, one of the Ebola viruses was identified in Cote d'Ivoire. So we should be careful, okay? And yes, we should educate those who eat bats and other animals. But it doesn't mean that the Ministry of Food and Agriculture can get up and ban antelopes, chimpanzees, bats, bushmeat, etc.
He is, however, unhappy about what he describes as continued fear-mongering due to the negative reportage on the virus.
There's no need to panic, but we know that the other countries, for example, Gambia, Senegal, are doing travel restrictions. It's up to the authorities to monitor closely the situation in Guinea and Liberia and Sierra Leone, and then take the necessary measures if they think that we are in danger. But there's a very high clinical suspicion for viral hemorrhagic fever cases, and we will continue to work closely with the authorities to provide whatever information we can from our end.
The symposium was put together by GIMPA as part of efforts to shape public discourse on precautionary measures to be taken to guard against the Ebola virus.
A case involving the Ministry of Finance and the construction firm Megri Construction Limited, involving some $1.8 million, has been adjourned to 15 May 2014. The Judgment Debt Commission, which heard the case Thursday morning, took the decision after I said there was not enough documentation to support the payment.
5 institutions were to appear before the Commission: the Attorney General, Megri Consolidated Limited, Ghana Civil Aviation, Ministry of Finance, and Divestiture Implementation. Only 2 of these institutions appeared. The first case to be heard was between Ministry of Finance, Balai, Gemlas Limited, and Consolidated Company Limited.
Yes, you have been asked to produce certain documents. They are supposed to be source documents that led to the payment of a judgment debt in the sum of $1,800,000 US dollars. Do you have those documents in your custody now?
Yeah, my lord, I have in my hands some documents. You requested for all sorts of documents.
That is so.
This particular case was handled by one of our leader counsel. Unfortunately, he's out of the country on official visit. So I just picked the file and tried to make meaning out of the request that you brought. So I have some documents which are relevant, and they appear to be some of the source documents. But I'll wish that on his return, I'll find out whether there are other documents that will be relevant for your assignment.
The Ministry of Finance, however, couldn't produce all documents to prove that they paid the full amount to the complainants, and so hearing was adjourned to middle of May 2014. The last case to be heard was between Megri Construction Limited and Civil Aviation.
Somewhere in 2003, we were awarded a contract by Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. And then we were able to finish the contract. Along the line, there were so many problems, but eventually we finished it.
What was the value of this contract?
What was the nature of the contract?
The nature?
It was a landscaping contract.
And what was the value?
And the value was would be 174,239.40 Ghana cedis. The subcontractor by name Paul Bratton summoned us to court for not paying him on what he has done. And then the court found out that we've not been paid by the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. So they sent a Ghana sheet to them, and they were joined in a suit. Eventually, he was able to collect his money. And since then, for almost 9 years now, we've been struggling, and that the money is not paid.
Hearing has been adjourned to May 30, 2014.
The interim National Hajj Chairman Abdul Rauf Tanko says his committee has put in place all the necessary measures to airlift this year's batch of over 5,000 Muslim pilgrims to Mecca without any problem. According to the chairman, owing to new policies agreed on at the just-ended Hajj conference in Saudi Arabia, the committee is working hard to ensure that problems that pilgrims encountered on previous trips will not recur.
Press briefing organized at the Hajj village in Accra to outline preparations for 2014, Alhaji Tanko noted that the committee had paid in advance all the services the 5,422 prospective pilgrims will require in Saudi Arabia. This, he explained, is to ensure the utmost convenience and security.
Actually, we had some few challenges last year. And, you know, it is not easy to organize and airlift 5,000 people, over 5,000 people, go and accommodate them, transport them around the kingdom, especially when you have most of them, you know, who will have to be supported in terms of, you know, health and so on, to be able to go around and perform the pilgrimage. There are some who don't even know. You tell the person this is your room, the person will sit down. When you come to ask where is your room, the person is sitting down. So it is very intensive. You understand? So we have acquired a bit of experience last year, and based on that we are going to improve on this year's performance.
Pilgrims are expected to pay $3,450 or 8 cedi equivalent of about 9,900. According to the committee, prospective pilgrims under the new arrangement will be provided accommodation, food and flights in and out of Saudi Arabia, among other services.
We have an aspect of feeding which is only for 3 days. We have also made payments for, you know, feeding of the people for only 3 days. The rest, people take care of themselves. Yeah, so for now, these are the arrangements we have made, and we will have to announce the package which we have done. It is no different from last year, except that the exchange rate, you know, has made the figure to go up in terms of cedis.
The committee further warned prospective pilgrims not to engage the services of agents and channel all relevant issues through the Secretariat. Matilda Pamaga for Joynews, Accra.
Thursday saw the usual rush by many to travel, mainly to their hometowns to partake in Easter celebrations. The high volumes at the various bus terminals naturally resulted in a shortage of buses and a backlog of stranded passengers. As it always happens, however, the passengers will eventually get to travel to their destinations.
At the New Plant station in Accra, several passengers were getting ready to board to their various destinations. They were excited about the long holiday weekend, and which gives them an opportunity to visit relations.
We feel happy that we are going home and celebrate the Easter holiday, but we are going with empty pocket. Yeah, some are working where we are not being paid, and some too we don't have. We are doing the job ourselves. They are not buy turns, and because of all those circumstances, we are so far.
I'm going to visit my family, my mother and my father.
But why are you going?
Just to spend Easter, like to move with your friend, to have a visit to some of your friends, go to church and pray.
Other stations in the capital also recorded a high passenger volumes, resulting in some passengers being stranded. Station masters we spoke to, however, gave the assurance that all the passengers will be transported by close of day, as enough preparations have been made to accommodate the high volumes.
Normally, anywhere at all you are, most of them, they like to go back to their hometowns to spend the Easter holidays. Sometimes it's good, but it doesn't move like at the moment. Our first bus is even full. We are on the second bus, and we hope getting to the evening, we are sure we'll be having about 4 buses.
Yesterday, for instance, we were able to look at 4 buses, which normally we do bus. So the first bus is already full. The second bus is half. End of the day, we'll get up to 4 buses, inshallah. Yeah.
Others called on Christians not to merely have fun during the period, but engage in some soul searching as the occasion seeks to remind the faithful of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ to save mankind. Matilda Pamaga for Joynews, Accra.
Time now
now for some business reports with me, Abigail Adumakoenchi. Now, this should come as some good news to building contractors, as Ghana's leading cement manufacturer, Gasem, has confirmed to Joy Business the price of cement on the market would go down between 3 and 5% from Tuesday. This follows negotiations between government and some cement manufacturers over the price of the product, which has shot up steadily in recent months, largely due to the rising cost of production. A bag of cement is currently selling between 23 Ghana cedis and 25 Ghana cedis on the retail market. The Corporate Affairs Director of Gasem, Joy Dawson Amwat, tells Joy Business all the cement manufacturers have agreed to publish the reduced retail prices from Tuesday. Well, away from that, government is most likely to go ahead and raise $1 billion from foreign investors before the end of June. Joy Business gathers that this is the new timeline managers of the economy are considering for the issue. The move, however, comes at a time the international market is experiencing unfavorable conditions. In other news, former President J.A. Kufuor has challenged African leaders to have the political will to address the challenges facing rice farmers in order to reduce rice importation. According to him, the $500 million worth of rice imported to Africa annually could be reduced if the right technology is used in the production of the staple. He was speaking at the launch of the Competitive African Rice Initiative program in Ghana.
Former President Kufuor blamed the poor yield of rice production on failure of policy.
With the right policy framework, engaging proper soil research, improved seedlings, extension services, good irrigation systems, training of farmers, access to credit, appropriate mechanization and value chain incentives, production in the country could be explosive. The challenges to be overcome are weak political will for policy reform. Number 2, poor articulation, coordination and implementation of the public-private partnership concept in the rice sector development. And thirdly, lack of best marketing practices both domestically and internationally. The right policy framework needed to be developed for an ambitious rice production in Ghana should therefore, among other things, cater for such concerns.
He also called for an integrated rural development policy for infrastructure of feeder roads, electricity, education and health centers to whip up youth interest in rice production. Deputy Minister for Agric, who stood in for the substantive minister, said the ministry expects agriculture to lose more grounds to industry and services in the coming years as the economy shifts towards the service-based economy.
Ghana has shifted her agricultural development paradigm to inclusive accelerated modernization and commercialization of Ghanaian agriculture without leaving out the small-scale farmer to span the medium term 2011 to 2015 under the FASDEP 2 and its cutting-edge implementation tool, that is the medium-term agricultural sector investment plan. The objectives of government are in sync with that of the Competitive African Rice Initiative, and government is ready to partner CARI to achieve self-sufficiency in rice production in Ghana and the project's countries. The partnership should aim at convergence of ideas and strategies so that we do not double count in terms of resource allocation to farmers.
The CARI program director was concerned about the rate of rice importation into the country.
We will intervene through activities that deal with human capacity development, with business advice to value chain actors. We will provide support to the industry organization so that the sector is enabled to set up an organization to represent its own interests. And a matching grant fund is our key technical instrument to promote public and private partnerships.
Other speakers at the launch also acknowledged the role women can play in the attempt to address the challenge. The main goal of CARI is to significantly improve the livelihoods of rice farmers in selected countries in the sub-region by increasing the competitiveness of domestic rice supply to meet the increasing domestic demand. CARI's strategy is to build on the identification, optimization and expansion of sustainable business models that will integrate small-scale rice producers.
Transport fares remain the same in spite of the reduction in the price of diesel by 3.94%, although passengers are calling for further reduction in the prices of petroleum products to ensure the fares are drastically reduced. The GPRTU says the fares will remain unchanged. The GPRTU did not officially increase fares after the 7.4% increment in petrol prices about 2 weeks ago. Some drivers are arbitrarily charging high fares.
Because of the fuel price has been raising, that is what they have done. Now the price too has risen up. For the previous days it was 25 Ghana cedis, but now they are taking 30 Ghana cedis, that's 300,000 old currency. So we are begging the government to do something about the fuel so that the price may come down.
However, a recent decrease in the prices of diesel did not reflect in the transport fares. Drivers who complied with the directives of the GPRTU by maintaining their fares could not be bothered about the development.
You see, I'm a business in the Quebec. Still, I still had any system. Economy is why it's too bad. Just then, penny for us, we no money will be there. And my no food to see against here drivers and against here drivers and against here raffle. Just rabban so we not food and so across on your day. And my so the baby be a better than our.
Meanwhile, a representative of the GPRTU at the New Plant station indicated that the union was not ready to reduce or increase fares.
Since the increment came, we've been charging the old fares as at now. What we were contemplating of making some increment when we got some information from our executives, the regional executive, that's the GPR2 regional secretariat, that we should hold on for some time. And only this week, Monday, we got a letter from the regional secretariat advising us to revert back to the old fares. No one should increase it. So we were even charging the old fare when this letter came. So as at now, we are charging the old fares. There's no way we can increase it on our own unless we've been advised to do so from our regional executives. Maybe by tomorrow everything will change. So we are hoping for the better by tomorrow.
He was also worried the boom in the transport business was declining with the increasing prices of petroleum products coupled with higher fares. And that's it for Business Hour. We go at Makwinchi.
Let's talk some football as we begin sports tonight. And FA Cup holders Midyama SC have arrived in Congo ahead of this weekend's CAF Confederations Cup duel with former champions AC Leopards. The Mauve Yellows are in search of a good result before the final clash in 7 days at the Sipon Stadium. A team of 18 players, 6 technical officials and 4 management members left Accra on Thursday for the decisive final qualifying round game in the CAF Confederations Cup. The Mauve Yellows are on the brink of history and must negotiate their tie against AC Leopards to make the group phase. However, the face-up Congolese side, which won the CAF Confederations Cup in 2012, AC Leopards were relegated from the Champions League by Sudanese powerhouse Al Hilal. Midyama can chalk an amazing feat if they progress to the group phase of Africa's elite interclub competition. They have managed successes over Panthers FC, Mars of Morocco, Zesco United of Zambia, and are confronted with a final hurdle against the former champions. Meanwhile, the Premier League board has had their request of seeking an extension to the closing date of this season's Premier League, which goes beyond FIFA's deadline of May 18, ahead of the World Cup, granted by the Executive Committee of the Ghana Football Association. The PLB, in a proposal to the Executive Committee, wanted to end the season's league on May 25, instead of the approved FIFA deadline of May 18, to give the players enough rest ahead of the World Cup in Brazil. The PLB has also confirmed that Tamale Stadium will host Asante Kotoko's Match Day 27 fixture against WA All-Stars. This follows the temporary closure of the Barbera Stadium to all home matches of Kotoko as an incident of crowd violence and misconduct during their league match with Heart of Lions on Wednesday, March 26, 2014. Into the boxing ring now. The euphoria ahead of the Bukom Bankum Ayite Powers Grudge bout has stepped notches higher after both boxers agreed to prevent further hitches. The bout, slated for May 16 at Accra Stadium, has got boxing fans talking again, and a number of them spoke to Joy Sports.
I'm very happy that the fight is coming on. Yeah, but I think it will be a one-sided fight.
We are ready for the fight. I actually support Ayite Powers, and I think it's a very good boxer. Initially, let me say, he was a businessman. You know, he prefers to pick the losing bonus instead of the winning bonus. But now we went to see our pastor, and he prayed for us. So I think things are going to turn around.
So we are waiting for it, but I'm sure, I'm telling you the truth. Powers is not fit Banku. Every fellow. Oh, no, you know that this round, you know, this.
Powers will beat Banku. Banku is doing 2-0. Every day he do rough roads.
Banku, that one, you know, is not the bosser. The road fights, nobody. Because I'm telling you honestly, but who's Powers?
Based on the records, when you check their records, Banku is a good boxer, based on one or two things. But I think this time we're going to stop him. It's going to be first in history. We'll stop Banku.
Rafael Nadal, Djokovic are doing very well in the Monte Carlo ongoing. Let's quickly have a look at what's happening there.
The mother of self-acclaimed dancehall king Charles Nyama Mensah, popularly known as Shatta Wale, after several years is back to claim her son, who she believes has been taken away from her by some people.
Born Charles Nyama Mensah, Shatta Wale appears to have incurred the wrath of his family, as his mother and uncle are opening up to the media against him. His worried mother, Elsie, in an exclusive interview with Black Rasta on the Taxi Driver show on Hits FM, says she has lost her son and is working hard to bringing him back home, adding that she loves her son very much.
He's my son, love him, he loves me, and I know everything will be all right. I still pray for him. I am in my church praying for my son. I know my son will come back, whatever the case will be, because I believe in my God. I heckle with that boy in life, and I don't know that boy will forget about me. He cannot forget about whoever wants to own my son will never get my son. My son will come back to me. Trust me, I'll call you and tell you, here I am with Shatta Wale, and we will be enjoying. So whoever is claiming my son can never have my son.
According to Elsie, the first son, who is Shatta Wale, has been out of touch with her since October last year under the circumstance she deemed abnormal. She also revealed spiritual consultation with her bishop revealed that there is a spiritual spell on the musician which is influencing his behavior. A man believed to be Shatta Wale's uncle, Rocky, agrees with Elsie, Shatta Wale's mom.
We are in church now praying for bandana. In fact, we suspect there's something going on. There's something spiritual. That is what is making bandana not looking towards the mother. So we need the intervention of God, the Almighty God, to intervene to make sure bandana or Shatta Wale, gets into himself and then realize that what he's doing is not good for himself and then the family at large. In fact, since I knew him, in fact, he has that sort of trait of being disrespectful towards people. He did it to me myself. And what we want bandana to do is even start the house. Understand? In fact, the guy is too rude. I know he is not doing this thing by himself, but it's something that is forcing him to do that. So all what we want to do now is we want Bandana to come home, so we give him a parental guidance, so as to what to do. In fact, when in case he comes back, I think we have to take him around to apologize to people that he has offended. Even his own brother, that we have to beg him to cool down and work on that. So Shatta House, Bandana should go to Shatta House and apologize. He should apologize to Black Rasta, apologize to a lot of people. I really plead, hold a fort or plead that anybody that Bandana or Shatta Wale has offended. In fact, let us all take it that in fact what he's doing is not from he, Shatta Wale, but it's the doing of somebody. So in fact, let me just seize this opportunity and first apologize. But the apologies will come later when he finally returns.
Showbiz can only wish them well on this journey to claim their son.
Like Wallace Revolution in 1990, Shatta star reality, and we're moving for the team.
That'll be all for Showbiz. That'll be all for the bulletin. Before we go, though, a quick round through our top stories. The head of the European Union delegation has been speaking about his disappointment after he was heckled off a civil society forum discussing the economic partnership agreement. Meanwhile, civil society groups have once again cautioned government to tread cautiously with the agreement. The Savannah Accelerated Development Authority has been directed to retrieve 3 million Ghana cedis from 2 companies contracted to produce butternut squash for the European market. The Accra High Court has adjourned ruling in the submission of no case brought before it by businessman Alfred Woyame. And that's it for the bulletin. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Israel Lai. Have a good evening and enjoy the Easter festivities.